You know, some people closely follow politics. Maybe a few more people follow news, depending at least on the topic. But I'll tell you, way more people follow culture. The stories, films, music, and comedy that actually brings people together, keeps us talking about movies long after they ran, or comedy shows, or jokes that we can repeat to each other. I would argue that it shapes our sense of the world more than a lot of politics and news. And while many people in the culture will share their messages through their work, political or otherwise, and then say, hey, I'm standing at bay, you can interpret it, I'm not going to explain it, there are others in the culture willing to both mock the arena and also enter it, sharing jokes along with even earnest views on politics, policy, the way we live, etc. So if you follow comedy or politics, you might know where I'm going here, because I bet you know Bill Maher and how he does that from his very first Tonight Show spot 3 decades ago, back when Johnny Carson ruled, to his political takes today.
Would you welcome, please, Bill Maher?
I wouldn't be surprised if Bush goes around the White House trying to scare him. Boom!
All the material you'll see on this show has been satirized for your protection.
It's depressing enough, having just had a birthday and being 66. Please don't ask me to start doing grown-up things like run for president.
But if you just talk about Biden, I don't think comparing him to Trump does anybody any good.
You can't really believe that this guy is not worse than Joe Biden. If you think that that in any way compares to what Trump tried to do, you just cannot tell unlike things apart.
As they say, snap.
I love that you always give me a Lifetime Achievement Award.
We're not even done. We're not even done. That's just you. They call that the Joe Rogan experience. I think he had the Bill Maher experience.
You bring my whole life up to the present. I love it.
Are you ready for the full disclosure?
Yes.
The full disclosure is, we like Bill. We get to be around Bill. And he's got his own hit HBO show. So, full disclosure, Bill Maher has also had me on that program, which I appreciate. We've talked culture, politics, Americans' divisions, and when he's been here, we've even talked about his dream guest. There's no free speech right to incitement. Do you think the wider violent rhetoric, especially on the right, is contributing to all this?
Of course. I think we're in a cold civil war in this country.
But I did Ari Melber's show a couple weeks ago, and I like him a lot. I think he's a big talent.
Something most Republicans get wrong.
Hairstyle.
Your dream guest.
You've already been on, so I can't name you.
Please.
I'd like to have Hillary Clinton.
Okay. I hope she's listening. Well, a lot of people are listening. As they say, as you know, Bill, what Jay-Z said on the famous Scarface remix.
Oh, I know you know.
Guess who's Bazak? Bill Maher. Nice to see you.
I noticed you put yourself in the package this time.
We are being open with the fact that now we're in that life stage where you've always had a TV show, you talk to interesting people. I actually have something on AAI coming up that we're going to get into from your show and not from your show. I'll explain. But
AAI? What's that?
But we get to be, we get to talk to each other. So that appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
we could get into anything. I want to start with you with what happened today just in Georgia, because you understand the power of imagery. We were showing this at the top of the show. You could see in the courtroom. You could see the judge. You could see the lawyers. You can experience what's going to happen. And, whether that gives you California OJ vibes, it's a lot more than what you see in the Jack Smith federal case. What do you think this will do to our understanding?
So what happened in Georgia today? I've spent all my day getting ready for you. No, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
They held a hearing.
Okay.
They ruled that the 2 of the Trump defendants who wanted to split actually have to be tried together. But I guess my question for you is, does it matter that Americans will see these cases play out on TV?
Yeah, it'll probably help Trump. I mean, first of all, I concede to no man my hatred for Donald Trump. I think I established this better than anybody. I was the only one who was saying he would never leave office voluntarily when everyone else was laughing at me, every Democratic politician. Ha, ha, ha. Well, okay. You smoke too much pot, Bill. Turned out I smoked just the right amount of pot.
Okay.
Get that one right. But I got to say, the mugshot, he nailed it. He nailed that mugshot.
You mean the facial expression?
Unbelievable. He nailed it, and they love it. And, I think instead of having 5 trials, They should have combined them all into one "he's generally a piece of crap" trial.
Right.
And that probably would. No, I mean, you know, I said this a long time ago. At a certain point, to the people who like him, it just looks like, well, you couldn't get him on Russia. You couldn't get him on Ukraine. You couldn't get him on Stormy Daniels. So you just keep trying. And it just becomes white noise to them. And isn't he leading Biden now in the polls?
Well, so you said several things. I guess one answer to your premise is, if your premise is true, and that's how they feel, the question is, are there going to be more of them or less of them, right? And if you look at we have the Jan 6 sentences. Yesterday, the Proud Boys got the stiffest sentence yet, 22 years. We've talked about this. You've talked about the division, political violence, Cold War, how bad that is. Those people, of course, convicted on things that are different than the crimes that Trump is accused of, because he's not being roped into sedition. But I guess my question to you would be, if you see these headlines, if you're a normal, reality-adjusted person, does this help or hurt Donald Trump? It probably hurts him with people in the general reality community who say, I don't want more of this.
I got to stop you and just say, I don't think this helps the media world that we live in, where we sit here and everybody else is just a deplorable who's reality challenged. I just, you know, for years I made fun of Fox News for good reason.
Yeah, I didn't say anybody's deplorable. I mean,
Well,
I guess we could take a step back, but I
it's like
assume
them.
we're
It's
against sedition.
It's like they're the them. I get that. And of course I'm with you on that.
So,
But there's never an understanding of why. Like, a lot of conservatives have said to me, what you don't get is that we don't like Trump either.
oh, I think that's fair. I mean, a lot of them don't.
But
then a lot of the politicians pretend to like him.
right. But they see him as the one thing that is standing between them and something even crazier. And there is a lot of crazy on the left. And I think it would be helpful if the people who watch this would see that. Just crack a window a little bit. And you maybe understand why people would. You have to try to understand why half the country is looking to Donald Trump as some sort of savior. Yes, it's not what we think, but, you know, people are not self-deporting in this country. Half the country isn't going away. Even if the Democrat wins the next time, they'll still be here, and they'll still have these views, and some of them are not crazy. Trump
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
crazy.
Well, you talk about here at this table and on this program, we have a lot of Trump people on. We had John Eastman's lawyer on a week and a half ago explaining his view of what they're doing. So we're hearing that all. I do think there's a difference between, say, an honest debate about immigration or corporate power and some of what has become the magnified lies. In other words, and you talked about it with Joe, the lies are a larger problem to even have a working democracy.
But it's so funny. I mean, after I was on Joe Rogan the other day, and yes, I don't understand how they can equate this equivalency between Trump and Biden, and in a lot of cases, I guess Joe's now for Trump, you know, pretty much out there saying it. Do I love everything about Biden? No, but I just don't understand how they can look at what Trump did. Now, does the Hunter Biden scandal stink? It really does. Stinks to the high heavens. I mean, that's real corruption there that a lot of the left-wing media will not cover. But it's nothing like what Trump did. I mean, there's just no equivalency to be. You can say whataboutism for anything, but like I said to him, you just can't tell unlike things apart if you see that the same way. But you know, they also shouldn't cover up what. I mean, if Don Jr. had done the things that Hunter Biden did, it would be every day.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I got one.
If they found cocaine in the White House, whose could it be? Who does cocaine around here? We can't figure it out. I don't know.
All right, so I got one for you that's pretty bipartisan.
Yes.
You mentioned lifetime achievement. You did, because we showed. And I think, I think a lot of people can contribute a lot in all kinds of ways. So I don't think there's any automatic age cutoff. On the other hand, it appears that we do have a system that favors certain things, fame and tenure in politics. I want to show you, just looking at this in both parties, the age issue. Let's take a look.
Concerns about lawmakers' health after incidents involving two of the most senior senators in Washington.
Spotlight has been on the senator's health for some time now. She is 90 years old.
81-year-old McConnell has had other health episodes this year.
Overwhelming concerns about President Biden's age.
Youth is not a word you would use to describe either leading presidential candidate.
I thought about you for this topic because when I talk to loyal members of the parties and the party spokespeople, they never want to get into this because both parties have this. You don't seem to be very afraid to offend. You also feel that if you could contribute, it doesn't matter how old you are, right? I mean, there was no age cutoff at HBO. My question to you is there an age problem here, and how do we responsibly deal with it without being ageist?
Yes, I think George Stephanopoulos is too old to do that job. No, I mean, I did a whole editorial on Dianne Feinstein, one of the last shows we did before we were shut down. And I can't remember exactly who we were quoting, but we were quoting Democrats who were all defending Dianne Feinstein and saying the attacks on her were anti-feminine. Feminist? What's the word I'm looking for?
Misogynistic, sexist?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. I mean, it has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. It's the fact that she thinks the coat rack is Barbara Stanwyck. And yes, it's a case-by-case basis, I always say, for age. But in this case, it's ridiculous. I mean, we went through the same thing. Remember Strom Thurmond?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, how old was he? And was doddering and drooling.
He was in his 90s. I was working as a Senate aide, and they used to wheel him in, and his hand would go up, and you couldn't tell whether it was up or down.
Right.
And the aide would be like, that's down. I'm not joking.
Right.
Respectfully.
Yeah, no, respectfully. He doesn't deserve respect. We have to whisper into a guy's ear, we're having pudding in an hour, to get him to move his hand. I mean, yes, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, that you're allowed to run of any age. You're allowed to run, I think, if you're in jail, right? Can't you get elected?
Yeah. Well, you can run from jail. Whether they'd let you out to serve is open legal.
I mean, we
question.
may face that issue with the President of the United States.
Yes. All right, I got another thing for you.
Yeah.
We prepare. We get Bill Maher in here, we prepare.
I love it.
AI, super interesting. Big democracy challenge. I'm going to play something for you that we made. I want you to watch very closely.
Okay.
I want to warn everyone because we try to do this responsibly. What you're about to see is, as we stamped it, fake, deep fake, not real, but this was going around on the internet. Take a look.
Elon Musk recently revealed that his long-awaited cryptocurrency trading platform quietly launched.
It's an incredible opportunity that can help you achieve your wildest dreams of making thousands of dollars in just a few days.
Elon Musk will tell us all about it.
Quantum AI is a new project that will help users increase their income exponentially.
Is this a closed software package?
No, we have made it available to everyone.
Well, they're not there yet. I mean, if you were fooled by that, you're not too bright. I mean, I could tell.
You're ducking the question. We're on the way.
What is the question?
Well,
sorry.
that wasn't you, right?
No, it wasn't, but I could tell it wasn't in any.
Okay, Bill, but in a couple of years you won't be able to.
Okay,
let's run the bill part, just the bill.
Okay.
Software package? No, we have made it available to everyone.
Okay, you're right. They're going to get better at this. And it's scary now, and it's going to get scarier. I don't know what you're pressing the point on. What I'm saying is, right now, if you can't tell that, you're just looking to be fooled. It's not that good. It's not that good yet. But yes, it is. But if you want my general view on AI.
And do you, I guess, yes, I want your view, and do you worry about, look at how much people are gullible now.
Right.
The problems we have with facts.
Yes.
And then someone's going to say, but I saw Bill Maher say it.
I agree. And no, this is a terrible problem. I always thought Musk was right about AI. I mean, there was a debate that was going on between him and the usual billionaires who fight each other. And he said from the beginning, this is a worry, a very, an existential threat to life on Earth. And I thought so, absolutely, because I think whatever happens in movies then happens in real life. And in movies, of course, we always become subject to our robot overlords. So it's going to happen in real life. But what I do think, the hope of AI, and I think the optimistic view, I think what will happen is that even though it's sort of like the bad guy now, for good reason, it's going to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer its way right into our hearts by fixing death.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to solve medical problems that have plagued us for years, I think. And being 67, this is really why I'm
You're
all
67?
Yeah.
Bill, you look 66.
I'm all in, ha, ha, ha. Leave the jokes to the comedians. That's why I'm all in on AI for the parts that are going to help us. But yes, we have to put up guardrails, and it can't just be, and of course, they've done this already. Biden has had people to the White House, and they've kind of already agreed on a framework that says, look, we can't really let private companies run this completely. We can't just let this be a competition between people who are looking to profit.
Well, I think, and that's why these things, it's funny you say that, because it goes, as always, back to policy and capitalism, right? It's not that we all have a firm understanding where AI is going to go, but you just put your finger on it, and Elon, although I think he's been selective about it, at times he has also said, who's going to be running this, right? And if it is just a race to whatever you call it, the bottom of the profits, that brings us to the last thing we have to ask you about. We may tell more bad jokes, because I do that to bring, I try to bring it out of you.
I can't wait.
But inequality in America and the writer's strike, and the actor's strike, and Hollywood's not the poster child for this, but we have, I mean, look at Robert Reich saying, look, people can't even live without money coming in if you cut off most people's money. People lose track that these strikes are very hard on workers. If you're earning $26K and you go on strike, how are you going to live? You are in this. You've said some things about it, but here we are. I don't want to characterize what you've said, but should Hollywood come to the table, the owners, and do more for the creatives and the writers? And does it also reflect the larger inequality in America right now?
Yes, yes, and yes. They should. By the way, why are you on? I mean, this requires writing. And, by the way, acting. You convinced me you're interested in that question.
I am interested in the question. We have a great, if you're asking, there is a labor union that works within MSNBC, but we are not part of the Hollywood union because we're all nonfiction journalists. No, I mean, we have labor.
I'm sure that's true.
This is your favorite thing, by the way. You love to do this. I just gave you the actual, you love to turn it around. What about you? I just
But what about you? I'm jealous.
You're jealous. But do you think
I'm jealous that you can work, is The View still on? They have writers. I just did TMZ. They have writers.
But should the owners do more for the creatives? The people off camera, the people writing?
Yes, of course. Every time the technology changes, there's a strike.
Yeah.
What I was saying, I think, the other day was that, that's the card you're dealt. The technology has changed. You can't turn back the hands of time, as Cher said. What? I know she's not a rapper, but
it counts. Counts.
Okay.
Here in the very moonlight of our segment, it counts.
In the moonlight of our segment.
Do I have that right? Was it the moonlight?
Yes.
No, moonlight.
In the twilight of our careers. So, okay. So this is, the technology has changed.
Yeah.
Now it's about streaming. Now, of course, the problem with the streaming is that two of the biggest media companies now, Amazon and Apple, they don't care about this stuff. It's a side gig. It's just a flex to impress their girlfriends to have movie companies. I mean, Apple sells phones, and Amazon sells hair scrunchies and tube socks.
So I guess the last question, I got 30 seconds, is that bad for culture, that we have such giant techno finance companies that are so important to the culture that so many people care about?
Yeah, I guess so, but how are you going to reverse that? Again, this is where we are. It's how we deal with it now. What I keep asking is, why doesn't the governor of this state, this is one of our key industries, why doesn't he jawbone? That's what politicians
get involved.
Do.
You think Gavin Newsom should be more involved?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is show business. This is what we make out here. Get these knuckleheads in a room together and say, look, fix this.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the writers and the actors who are out on strike and missing. It's the people who the people who are really suffering and don't make a lot of money to begin with.
Yeah.
And also, what about the restaurant next to the studio?
Yeah.
And the guy who sells potatoes to the restaurant.
Especially around here.
We're talking about hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and lots of people who are losing their houses now.
Amazing. I love it when you come on. I hope you come back. It's not a joke. It's a final thought. It's not a joke, because I know you get worried. I'm going to tell them a bad
I'm in
joke.
Vegas next week.
Tell the people.
It's up to you to tell the people.
He's in Vegas next week. I was going to say not a joke, but the thing about a Bill Maher interview that I've learned now over our time together is normal interview, you ask 10 questions. Bill Maher interview, it's like 20 questions, because I ask 10 questions, and then you get in 8 or 10.
I think what you're asking is where the MGM Grand, Ari, on the 15th and 16th of September.
MGM Grand, September 15th, Bill Maher, and Real Time at HBO when it comes back. We'll be right back.